thing is the Malort, probably.
Another bride, another June, another sunny honeymoon.
Pronouns are she, her. I am 27 years old, from the Pacific Northwest, Tacoma, which is a little bit south of Seattle. We're like their scrappy stepsister. And I got trapped here in the cornfields when I came out for undergrad, and I went to U of I, so.
Ketchup. I really like ketchup. I put it on a lot of things, some things that ketchup doesn't belong on. I really like the Cubs. I like baseball a lot. It's pretty white, I feel like. I think ketchup, though. I think ketchup. I'm gonna stick with ketchup. Ketchup on food that ketchup doesn't belong on, that I'm not gonna name out of embarrassment.
Went to a barn dance in college. That was pretty wild. It's my friend's boyfriend. It was his house's barn dance that night, and I went. I looked more like lumberjacky because that's just who I am as a human being versus cowgirl. But then he definitely got super drunk and then felt me up on the bus, and I was like, this is uncomfy. I need to leave.
Say like nerds. Nerds slash like emos. I would like a little bit of a crossover group with like anime club on one side of the slash, and then like a bunch of people who went to like Rob Zombie concerts on the other side. It was not a phase. I listened to the same music, and I'm still a little theater nerd professionally though, and I still play D&D. So I'm gonna say like my fashion sense has changed, and maybe I'm not like as confident enough to pull out some of those like black on black looks I used to wear, and I don't maybe have enough hair to dye anymore, but like everything, the internals are all the same, I would say. I was not into nu metal. For the record, this is something you have to put in. I don't like nu metal. I like Pearl Jam, and then it goes in from Pearl Jam, it goes to like Nickelback, and then spreads out to like Puddle of Mud and Limp Bizkit. Sorry, this is not my presentation, this is your presentation.
But no, I definitely like try to lean into the big titty goth girl thing. But I also, since I work in a conservative industry, have to tone it down sometimes, which sucks, but I don't actually have to. I just have internalized what my mom has told me about people with tattoos and piercings, and I assume everyone thinks that way, so I feel like I have to tone it down a little bit, because, you know, growing up, Lola was like, only criminals have facial hair and tattoos, and I'm like, nowadays. Although it's cute because she has to wear like a lymphedema sleeve when she travels too long because she had breast cancer, and she got one that has like floral, like flowers all the way down it. So she's like, look, I look like you. It's very precious. But yes, that's aggressively bi, big titty goth girl.
Yeah, oh, heck yeah. Maybe that's my mannerisms, but yes, I am very Midwestern. It's in my bones. Apologize a lot. No. I say ope. I do say ope. I do. It's reflexive. It's like instinctive. If I touch someone without meaning to, it just comes out of me. Or if I like almost knock something over. Or like my love for snow. I really love snow. I think snow is great. Or like how confident I am of a driver in snow, because I am a great driver on bad roads. So one of those things. It's a real toss-up. Like I said, a lot of very Midwestern qualities. One thing I don't do, shorts after September. So that's something a lot of Midwestern guys do that I think is weird.
I feel like I'm definitely like a Pacific Northwest starter pack. Like I drive a Subaru, I have 2 giant dogs. I donate to NPR. Like I dress very grunge, but also can dress very like outdoorsy too. So the only thing I just I'm trying to think of what I don't wear. I'm definitely one of those people who's like chronically overdressed. I refuse to like slab kebab outside in the wild.
College. They met in college. They were in. They were going to school in Carbondale. My dad was a transfer student from Malaysia, and my mom was originally from Chicago. My mom was a little older, and I think they just had mutual friends, and then they met, and my mom's siblings went to school in Carbondale, and my dad's siblings ended up also coming to America to go to school in Carbondale, and then it just became like an extended family friend group kind of thing when they started dating, yeah, and then they just stayed together, got married, had me. Yeah, that's all the information I have on that.
Despite the whole like Filipino mom, Navy dad trope, they actually were next door neighbors when my mom moved up to upstate New York for her first job after college, and then my dad was working at a nuclear energy plant there through the U.S. Navy, and my mom was selling chocolates for her younger sister's band trip, and my dad asked her out on a date when she asked if he wanted to buy chocolates, and he bought a lot of chocolates, and it's a big deal because he doesn't like chocolate, but that's their meet cute.
I have to find a Punjabi girl, and then I have to make sure she's a Mawai, which is one of 3 different groups of Punjabi. So that's a sub-breakdown.
I don't know. There's like a certain sort of roasting that comes with being Filipino for sure. Where it's like, oh, you've gotten fat. And they're like, thank you. But of course, you know, since it's a very like elder respect culture, it's not like you could snap back. Oh, you've gotten old. But, yeah.
Reminds me of something my dad always told me, which is that I'm American first. And I think it's about a lot of being American, is about a lot of privilege, a lot of fighting, a lot of people coming before you fighting for your place at the table. I think it's kind of good sometimes, and then kind of scary other times. It was a whole thing I went through, like, do I deserve to, like, take part in these cultural activities? Do I, like, am I, like, really, like, my culture? How do I amend? Like, how do I amend for my past kind of, like, rejection of my Indian heritage? Stuff like that. And I don't really have all the answers for those, but yes, there's been some, like, internal reckonings for sure around a lot of things. And, like, around a lot of, like, how much of my Indianness I would, like, brush to the side, specifically for romantic partners, just to, like, I don't know how, like, uncomplicate the situation for lack of a better word. Because I've had, like, partners, family members who are very uncomfortable with me as an Indian man. Yeah, it's not great, but it is what I have done in the past. And it's something I have to come to terms with, like, not trying to hide who I am.
The one time where I really felt like I was different, because where I grew up there were a lot of mixed kids, predominantly Korean and white. So I didn't necessarily feel too different. Like, I had a lot of families that I hung around that looked similar to mine. But I remember it was like my AP Calculus class, and we were doing a potluck for Pi Day, and I was in charge of bringing plasticware, and I was always afraid of asking my parents for, like, them to buy stuff for school. So I had a giant Ziploc baggie of used plasticware that my grandmother had washed. So I didn't really think anything of it, so I just brought it, and then someone said something like, "That's really gross." And I was like, I think that's the first time I ever felt shame for being different. But I would say most of my Filipino traits are, you know, getting rowdy, like going hard at karaoke or that sort of thing. But I also, when I have to get crafty based on resources that I have versus going out to buy something, that's when I feel like I channel my inner Filipino the most. Because there's definitely a lot less consumption and consumerism on that side, just based on the fact that, like, my Lola was from Navotas, which is a very poor neighborhood of Manila, so she was always trying to reduce, reuse, recycle, and then also, you know, be very mindful of the money that was spent. And yeah, so.
I don't know. I don't know what it would look like any other way. Maybe it would have been better if I had, like, learned... You know what? Actually, yes. Yes, I would. I would like it differently. I would have liked to learn some of my hereditary languages. My dad, that was specifically something he never did because he wanted me to be more Americanized.
I think I do. I think it would be a lot easier, because I do sometimes find that, like, now that my grandma has dementia, she'll slip in between the two languages, and then I'll have to be like, "Well, I don't know what you're saying." I'm like, "Can you repeat in English, please?" Or it would just be easier. Also, I would love to know, because we are very much like gossip queens. I would love to know when people were talking shit about me. You know